My name is Kamra Devi Dasi, and this is part 7 of my autobiographical video series. When I was born, I had full knowing that this was going to be a very difficult lifetime and also a very blessed one, beyond all dreams. I cried with this awareness, but to the doctors present in the delivery room, it was just the cries of another baby. I was raised in a violent and abusive household. My mother and her mother were my first sexual abusers, doing things to my body while I was still an infant, legs drawn up in newborn fetal position. My mother, her father, my father, his father, other relatives and friends of the family, some of my teachers, the doctor, the dentist, the entire neighborhood actually was a center of dysfunction and perversion. The family doctor was the head of the satanic ritual cult, and my father proudly brought me to be used by all of them because it made up for his total lack of self-worth, having himself been abused as a child by his own father. There was a lot of cognitive dissonance on my part, being raped by my family and their friends at night, and having to participate in making a pancake breakfast in the morning like nothing had ever happened. So, as with many abuse cases, the horrific part of life that made no sense got shoved way back in the awareness, only to surface to the conscious level when I turned 40. By that time, my health had failed. My back was seriously injured by what I thought was overwork at the age of 31, and I was told that I would likely never be able to walk again. I had a major heart attack at the age of 39 and was also diagnosed with congestive heart failure and Graves' disease. For the Graves' disease, I was treated with radiation, radioactive iodine-131, that burned out the most of my thyroid gland, and now even looking at a cookie puts on weight. Suppressed and repressed memories will show themselves both through physical and emotional symptoms. That's why a health protocol that addresses physical complaints cannot be fully effective until the deeply underlying trauma is also addressed. In the interim, between my youth and the age of 40, were all sorts of addictive patterns and acting out behaviors that any sensible therapist or even a well-trained teacher might have noticed. There were drugs, there was alcohol. I was reading 6 books in a day or 2 and then taking my bicycle and going back to the library for another 6. I tortured my Barbie dolls. But the teachers were part of it, the doctor headed it up, and prescribed many adult dose tranquilizers. Prescribed them for me, but they were happily used by my father, and my eating disorders nearly killed me. My university friends cared for me, although none of them approved of my unhealthy choices in life. It went on and on like that, but still, in the midst of all the inner turmoil, I wanted nothing other than to find the meaning of life, and I viewed my existence with great introspection. When I was 39, I cared for a devotee friend of mine who was very ill with no known cause or diagnosis. It turned out that she'd been a victim of early childhood abuse, and as she recovered her memories and her health, I got sicker. By the time she returned to her home, after 3 months, she was in a lot better shape than I was. That's the nature of healing from abuse. One person who is facing and healing from their life experiences may act to bring out of the darkness those issues for someone who still has them deeply buried in the subconscious awareness. It can be like dominoes. Many of those who assisted me in my healing process were also spurned into theirs in the same way. I went into many years of deep process and recall. My first body memory came during a massage, when the therapist was working on the inside of my left thigh. So I'm going to spell out a few things here because I don't feel like polluting the ether. So as she was massaging me, all of a sudden her hand in my awareness turned into an erect male organ, and I started screaming, "It's a DICK. It's a God, DAMN effing DICK." And I rolled to the side of the massage table, dry heaving, reliving a childhood memory involving my father. The therapist held her composure, and soon after, she herself went into recall process. And that's how my process started, was on that massage table. So the entire process was from hell, years of hell, and it seemed like there was no end in sight. There were no words for how dark it was. But as I came forth, I realized that as there had been no words to describe how hard the healing process was, how absolutely hellish it was, there were even fewer words to describe the blessings on the other side. However, even as I healed from the childhood trauma, I still had no conscious awareness of what had happened to me as an adult in the organization of ISKCON, when I tried to fight against the pedophile presence in the Hare Krishna schools and challenge the false Diksha Guru system. But inside, there was always something burning. I knew there was something else I wasn't getting for my healing. I just couldn't reach it. It was very deeply buried. It was too hard to face at that time that people in devotee dress, many of them in top leadership positions in the organization, could be doing similar things to what happened to me as a child, and even much, much worse. My back never fully healed from that injury in 1985. Some time ago, it was maybe 2011 or 2012, I was getting a massage in the connective tissue in my left hip. And that massage, again, started to release some very deeply held memories from the tissues. All of a sudden, something became very clear, and even though I tried to fight it, I knew it was real. And I screamed, "Beast raped me." And I knew that in that scene there were also other people present. Oh, doubts were flying out all over the place, but the body doesn't lie. A homosexual can rape women and girls out of hatred for them. It's a sheer power play, and it doesn't stop at rape. I had finally entered into the deeper knowing and the deeper healing that would solidify my relationship with Srila Prabhupada in a way that could not have been foreseen. The back injury had not been from overwork, as I had surmised, nor was it from too much horseback riding when I was younger, as the temple president was fond of telling devotees who asked how I had become injured. Disgusting demons, they were all in on it. I'm not going to be sharing the actual names of those who were involved, there's no need on my part to do it, and actually to mention names will hinder my service. It's not a matter of getting tied up in individual accusations and proofs, and he said, she said, or whatever. It's a matter of illustrating how things have gone way off course, and more importantly, keeping alive what Srila Prabhupada gave to us and separating his name from the deviations and evil agenda that his name has been associated with. The Lord's revealed to me several past births, mostly in very strong and historically well-known male bodies. In none of these bodies would I have ever thought to commit hideous violence upon others. So I knew that my birth and my later experiences weren't simply karmic. So I implored Krishna for an explanation, why he had placed me into such a crazy family that I had never done anything in the past to warrant it. His reply was, "There will be much healing required, and this was your qualification." And I replied, "Dear Lord, I accept." And later on, when I similarly implored him about why I had to experience such physical and emotional torture at the hands of the demons in devotee dress, he told me that I had to know the depth of the evil infiltration that we were up against. I learned much through my ordeals. I've been able to take what I learned and consolidate it to the essence for supporting others in their personal growth and healing. My abusers have been my best teachers. I have great compassion for all of them, and as I've said before, compassion has many flavors. May those who have defiled Srila Prabhupada and his followers and his organization be caught with their pants down so that the truth may be known. May they die inglorious deaths so that there may be no more false samadhis and misplaced worship. And may they eventually, however many eons it takes, awaken their hearts to the gifts that Srila Prabhupada offered to them out of his great compassion. That will bring the greatest pleasure to Srila Prabhupada, having the transcendental victory of bringing the biggest demons back into Krishna's loving fold.